Hello and welcome to One-on-One Shots with B. Dave Walters. Today I am joined by the fantastic, the astonishing, the Deathbane herself, Tanya DePass. Hello, Tanya. Go.
Hello, Dave. How are you? Oh, God.
It's true, we have practical effects here. That's it. That's how we do the Foley. Where might people know you from, ma'am? What's your claim to fame?
Other than one-shotting death, playing Celise on Rivals Waterdeep, doing a charity stream that raised a lot of money by some hook, crook, and magic that I still can't explain. I still don't know. It's when people get married and say they don't remember their wedding day?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's what that feels like. So I looked at the VOD. I was there. I still can't explain how all that chaos happened.
That day, when I saw people posting, it was like, "Oh, we're trying to raise $500. Oh, okay, we're at 30,000," and I was like, "That's a weird typo. They just wrote 30,000. I think they meant 3,000." And then it's like, "We're trying to get to 50. Oh, we're trying to get to 100. Oh, we're trying to get to 150." It was like, what? Yeah,
that was me, and I was there.
That's well. If you don't know what we're talking about, it was like a week ago now. Like, time's a flat circle. When was this? 10 days.
Yeah, because it was June 2nd or 3rd, whatever that first Tuesday of June was.
Yeah. Tanya did a charity stream to raise money for the Bail Project, and it just exploded. Anyway, what was your final tally on that push?
On that stream, we got to 146,000. The team goal is currently 350,000, and I could be nosy and check really quick and see what it's at, because 50 people have joined the team, and I'm just like, okay, that's a lot of people.
I think it's a worthwhile cause. It's one of the most worthwhile causes, to tell you the truth.
The team is at $333,838.04. That 4 cents.
And first of all, shout out to the 4 cents, whoever you are. Yeah. Because hey, somebody might have only had 4 cents, and it's we'll take it.
We'll take it.
We're gonna go all over the place, and let me tell you all also, those of you in chat, if you have a question for Tanya or for me, write it with a capital question in front of it, and we will try and get to it when we can. But while we're chatting here, I will say we are going to be playing some Vampire today. I believe this is going to be your first time playing Vampire, correct?
Correct.
Good. Yeah. We will introduce your character here momentarily, but we're still in the process of introducing you. But so let me just say outright, thank you for not just being here, but for that fundraiser, because you literally changed and quite possibly saved many people's lives by this. So thank you for using your platform and your time and your talents to signal boost this cause and help them out, because it's going to make a real meaningful difference in some people's lives. I don't know if anybody has said thank you outright, but there you go. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's surreal. It's just surreal because like I said on Twitch and Twitter, that I just come off of fundraising for St. Jude. They always have May as their fundraising, kind of, I don't want to say competitive, but their fundraising season for the spring is in May. And, me and my buddy Brian, we raised over $10,000. So I figured there's no way that well is dry. People have given what they can. So, $500, we raise it, great. And then everyone proved me wrong in the best way. So that was amazing.
I think you raised more in that one day than I think we raised in our charity streams all year last year. Everything I'd participated, because because remember in the before times, $10,000 in a day was a big result if you raised $10,000 on a stream. So
yeah, I don't think I take that back. I mean, obviously what happened, but Urban Bohemian, longtime friend, he hit 15,000 on that same day as part of the team.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's well, I think that tells you how much this speaks to it. And if you don't mind, since the Bail Project obviously is still taking donations and your team is still raising donations, what's the micro pitch for the Bail Project? Like, who are they and what do they do?
The micro pitch is that they're trying to basically eliminate money bond and money bail, and they're trying to set up centers across the country. So it's not just one place that they're serving. It's not just one county or city or state. They're trying to set up places all over the country and help people not be stuck in jail. Because, like, for a minor thing, if they set you some stupidly high bail, especially if you're brown like me and Dave, then that can ruin your whole life. Because sometimes people, for whatever reason, or if you get stopped, or even if it's an erroneous charge or fake charge, because as we know, people have quotas, that could mess up your whole life. Because if you can't pay bond or you can't pay bail, you stay there, you could lose your job, and it's a cascading thing, and now you've got a record. So they're trying to help eliminate that. So $1 up to, if you got like 5 G's sitting in your pocket, we'll take it.
Yeah, wait, are you attempting to imply that there is some socioeconomic component of the justice system that might disproportionately affect some people that look different? Is that what?
I am not just hinting. I am absolutely saying that. Because
outright declaring.
Outright declaring. Because, I mean, if we can go there, it's why the state of the world is where it is now. And for a little bit of context and or history that a lot of us don't get, the word officer came from overseer. The people had to go catch runaway slaves. So the legal system was stacked against us from the day one. So part of the bail system is part of that, not level playing field that, folks like me and Dave and people of color, but specifically Black people, have had to contend with since day zero. They say that we're free, but are we really free?
Yes, obviously Tanya and I have both talked at length over the past years, and recently, we've both done panels and put up videos on YouTube. Like, we're not going to dive too terribly deeply into that today, but do understand everything we've been saying has still been going on. However, I do need to insert this. Oh, who are they not hearing? Because I hear you.
First they said you, and I hear you.
Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
I don't know. QueueTimes production overlords, can you hear us on the Twitch?
Oh, hey, you can see my whole... Okay. There we go. They said they heard us both.
Can you hear us now? Check. Just
yep.
Making sure?
Yep, they said they can hear us.
See, that was the NSA trying to smoke us out there. You know what I mean? Like we were spitting too much hot fire, Tanya. Shorted out the lines. Well, let me ask you this then. More in the gaming context. How did you get into this? Because I know oftentimes I think the tide is turning, but people don't expect people that look like us to participate in these communities. Oftentimes they don't expect women to participate in these communities. So how did you even get into D&D? How long you been playing?
I've been playing D&D for a long time because, fun fact, I'm only like a year older than D&D itself. And, I had to deal with the Satanic Panic and all of that stuff. So I've been playing off and on. I fell out of it for a while, I think, after 3.5 was out, mostly because it was hard to keep up with it because games aren't cheap. And also there weren't a lot of other people of color I knew or Black folks that I could easily get to and keep a game running, because anyone who's ever tried to keep a weekly game going knows that is like the end boss of trying to like keep a constant game going. And the last long-term game I was in, not counting Rivals, all the other players were white. And it wasn't like, oh, there's no black people at all. It's just we all worked together. It was easy to meet up because we're already all in the same area and keep a game going. I fell out of it partially because it was just tiring to go into game stores, not see anybody like me, or get the, oh, a girl, do you know what dice are? And I'm like, the fuck out of my face. I forgot to ask if I could cuss.
Absolutely.
Okay. I was like, wait a second, I should have asked that. You know, and our friend Christina has a story of being treated like that in a game store. And just, you know, not finding people that understood that if I too come to a table, I want to have fun. But going, oh, well, you have to be an orc, or you got to be a drow, or if your character's black, then they got to be poor and uneducated. So I just fell out of it for a long time. And then Greg Tito, he follows work that I do with I Need Diverse Games. And he was like, hey, do you want to come on Dragon Talk? And I didn't realize it was like the official D&D podcast until like an hour before we were doing the show. I was like, oh, the D&D podcast, not because I was like, sure, why not? And like we had a great conversation, and then he sent me the 5e stuff because by then it was out. And I read up, but still couldn't find like a group to really get with. And at that point, there still wasn't a good way to play online. And, you know, again, even with online resources, people got lives, they got schedules. Fast forward a couple of years, and Greg reached out and he's like, hey, are you interested / you know people who might want to do a show, like an official show, and based in Chicago, and pitched what would become Rivals to us. And he already had a couple of people he brought in. I brought in Brandon, Cicero, and Sharif. And then, you know, June 4th in 2018, we sat on that stage together in LA for the first time, and we haven't stopped since.
I met you that day. I met all of you that day, yes. And I had no idea that a lot of you met each other the first time that day, right before Rivals.
Somewhat, because we hadn't had a chance to get together in person except for one session 0 to make our characters. But that was it. We had not actually played together until we sat on stage in LA that year. So that was wild because Brandon, Cicero, and Sharif had never played at all.
Wow. I mean, that's, you know, at least you started playing the game on hard mode there. You know, that was Stream of Many Eyes. So that was 2018?
Yep, 2018.
Yeah, that was a wild day, man. That was a great day. Like I'm looking forward to doing the digital one. Well, I guess this next weekend is D&D Live, but it'll be good when we can all get back together and like raise a cup together. But in the meantime, we're making do how we can. And I mean, I personally have, even though I prefer being in the room, I prefer being around the table, but this has like opened up a lot of opportunities too, to be able to connect with people like this and let all of us realize that you can get together like this and play the game and still have it be fun. And like nobody looks down their nose at you know, playing digitally and remotely anymore like they did just a couple of months ago.
Yeah, because some people are just like, oh, it's not the same. You don't get the same feel. And, you know, I can agree with that, but it's still better than, oh, well, we can't play for months at a time, or no, who really has room to keep everyone 6 feet apart at a table? Nobody I know. It's not good for conventions. It's not feasible. So while we may be digital, at least we still get to play.
Absolutely. And also, you know what? Shout out to our homie, Greg Tito, who was also instrumental in putting me on the map too. So thank you, Greg Tito, for all your good works, you know, and helping launch us in this space, you know?
Yeah. And, you know, and other folks that we've met along the way, like, you know, Christina and Quitty and all the folks that we've seen come up in just a short time, because it's only been 2 years. And I've probably seen more black folks and brown folks playing D&D in these 2 years than I have in my whole life.
Well, you know, it's, even though, yes, today we are playing Vampire, I promise I didn't mistag the post there. I mean, I would like you to speak on something important here that I think a lot of people don't understand. When you were saying you didn't see anybody that is like me, why is it important that you share the table with at least some other people that are like you. Let me say clearly, dear viewer, people of the internet, just in case, we got nothing against white folks. We love white folks. We're talking about having some of, because that happens. I have to
I
say it
know.
out.
I'm just
Yeah, I have
laughing.
to,
I'm
let
just
me just
laughing.
say it out loud. So why is having that diversity at the table important? Having some more people that look like you important?
Well, for a few reasons. So things like, when I mentioned the people that immediately equate black with drow, or if I describe my character and say that she is brown skinned, she's dark skinned, she is a black human, they a lot of times people go, well, that's not historically accurate. First and foremost, it is a fantasy setting. None of this is real. And if you can have a dragon, a dwarf, your dwarves have Scottish accents for whatever reason, and other mythical creatures, if you can have a mimic that's a chest and a never-ending bag, you can have black people. It's okay. But also just to realize that what we've been fed all of these years, the Tolkien-esque, white male hero, doesn't have to be that way. That people that look like us can be the heroes too. And it doesn't have to be some tragic story. It doesn't have to be, oh, well, you can be at the table, but your character has to be like an escaped slave or you're a servant. There are black kings and queens too. We did not all descend from slavery, depending on how far back you got to go and what country and what all these factors. But people always want to overlay real world racism and tropes on the table, but will turn around and go, but I have a werewolf that I can summon at the drop of a hat, and he talks, and he's my best friend. But it's like, but a brown person's a step too far. Make it make sense to me. And also, just this may shock people. We want to escape and have fun too. I know.
Well, isn't that what your Hennessy and craps are for?
I mean, don't get me wrong. I like my Henny, but I don't know how to play craps, but I do like my Henny. But you know what? I can sip some Henny, but also play a noble brown skin elf that, has courtesans and is fearful and is like a master assassin. She doesn't have to have this background. And, I remember early on when I was just kind of following tabletop stuff and not playing again, that there was a thing about someone wanted to homebrew or add to a setting slave masters and thought this was okay and petitioned the company. And I was sitting there going, this concerns me on many levels, because what part of you thinks that anybody is going to want to sit at a table with you? Because let's say we're at a convention. We go to Gen Con, we go wherever, and I sit down and this person goes, my character's a slave master. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? You want to do what? Go ahead.
I would just say that would immediately turn into that Dave Chappelle show, the Time Haters. When they went back and he shot the slave master. Like that would be like round 1, minute 1 of our campaign. He's like, I'm a slave master. Oh, okay. Look over there. Gack. Slaves, you're free.
It's like, oh, you were a slave master. Your character's dead now. Goodbye. But people think that's kind of reasonable, because for them, racism is an academic exercise. It's not real, because unless they see somebody in a hood and burning a cross, to them racism isn't real, because we had Obama for 8 years. Like, racism's over. Let me tell you, and it's not just not over, it is far more sinister and far harder to detect. Except for the last 4 years, where they have been emboldened and they just don't care anymore. And people out here going to the grocery store in a KKK hood, claiming it's to keep them safe from COVID. So all of that is to say that we should be able to go to the table and safely play out fantasies of being the hero. If I want to be a dragonborn, cool. You don't have to overlay all the racist stereotypes you think of when you think of brown people. Oh, your dragonborn is brown? Oh, well, they came from, I guess, whatever poor dragonborn would be. I've never played one, so I have no idea. Or, if I'm a vampire, maybe I come from a lower, or I don't have a clan. Oh, you're brown, you don't have a clan, you're just an outcast, or whatever that is.
Yeah, it's you. No, I was just nodding along with you. Yeah, I think people are becoming more vigilant about this. You know, a story I've said in the past, the thing that put me on the map was when Tomb of Annihilation came out and they sort of facelifted Chult, kinda. I was very, very publicly critical of it, of just this like lazy post-colonial portrayal of the black people in the world of D&D. And it was completely obvious to me that they just hadn't checked with any black people. Nowhere along the way they asked anybody, any people of color, if this was all right, because it wasn't. I'm like, it's a fantasy world. The black people could all be from the moon. Like, I mean, they could be doing anything. You could have made space Wakanda, you know, but it's like, no, it's just sort of this like post-colonial leftovers. And, you know, to their credit, the powers that be, I think, really took those notes and criticism to heart. And that is part of what gave rise to your show and my show and some of the things that we've gotten to do. So again, shout out to Watsy for being willing to listen. And do let me just say again, people of the internet, a lot of these things we understand you don't know because just nobody pointed it out to you. That's fine. We've pointed it out to you now, so you don't have to feel guilty if you didn't know, because believe me, I know you didn't know. I've gone on record when in the midst of the Me Too movement that I myself did not know that a lot of these things were other human beings' common experience, you know? So I fully understand how you can just not see some things until it's been pointed out to you. Then once it's been pointed out, you know, try and go about doing things differently. You know, I would just say for me, the point behind diversity, which of course we could talk for many hours about just this, is that in these stories, in story in general, as an escape, is ideally story is supposed to teach you something about yourself. In order to have that, you have to have someone you can identify with that you both want to be like and not be like. So heroism and villainy needs to wear many different masks and look like many different people so that you can be like, I do want that. I don't want that. I want to be more like this person, but less like that person, and find yourself represented somewhere in the narrative other than, you know, the sassy gay friend or the noble savage bodyguard or whatever, you know.
Yeah, because it actually made me think about an interaction I had on Twitter this morning. Because I retweeted something about, I retweeted that Juneteenth should be a holiday. And someone replied to me and they're like, well, what's Juneteenth? And I was like, take this and put it in the search engine. Go find it, because at the time you tweeted me, you could have just Googled it. And they actually did. And they're like, and they started apologizing for not knowing. And I haven't replied because I don't know how to reply other than be snarky. Because, come on, what are you apologizing to me for? That does nothing. But they're like, how come we don't know this? And I was like, take a minute and really think about why we don't all know about Juneteenth. Why we don't know about Black Wall Street. If you take 30 seconds, maybe a couple of minutes, it shouldn't be that hard. You know, and that's why we're at this, and that's why we're having all these conversations, and why we had the Black as Fuck Roundtable a couple times, and the people just sitting there just with this shock. And I'm like, where have you been? Where have you been that somehow all of this racism, all of the murders of Black people, just history, chattel slavery, did they stop teaching it since I graduated high school? I'm starting to wonder. Because people just seem real surprised that it was a thing.
It just comes across like a thing we fixed in 1864, you know? It's like we had a civil war, we freed the slaves, there was some Jim Crow stuff that was weird, but Martin Luther King, Obama, here we are. Hey!
Right. You know? Like, no, that's not how any of this works.
Also, shout out to Damon Lindelof for setting Watchmen, the inciting incident being Black Wall Street. Did you watch the Watchmen show on HBO?
No, because I don't have HBO.
Somebody get Tanya a subscription to HBO, first of all. I won't spoil it, but it's, you know, the first episode is Black Wall Street. Really Black Wall Street. And I was watching this happen, and I'm literally saying out loud during the what? Really? What? We're doing this? Oh, we're doing this. We're doing this, HBO? Oh, okay. You know? And in the it was funny because the immediate reaction to episode 1 of Watchmen, and do watch it, y'all. Just because Watchmen is my favorite graphic novel of all time, and the show really was masterful. Was so many people they got this backlash of just like, why did you have this like needlessly violent, fictitious introductory sequence of this show? And it's like, because it wasn't fictitious, y'all.
Like,
that
here's
all
your
happened.
uncomfortable truth for the day.
Yeah. And then, the show goes where it goes, and it's, weird and multi-headed and whatever. I enjoyed it, but I was just shocked that they made such a bold narrative choice at the time, even though Watchmen was what, last fall, like last October or something. So, I guess they must have shot it sometime last year, but I was like, for all time, Damon Lindelof gets props for me because he didn't have to do that, but it's, the history of our nation, the history of the world is multicultural, and it always was. The idea that you've got this whitewashed vision of what it was like in medieval Europe or in Rome or in Greece is all a byproduct of colonialism. We've been intermixing from the beginning, like there's always been different kinds of people in different kinds of places. So,
Yep.
yeah,
Wasn't it just Loving Day a couple days ago?
Decriminalization of interracial marriage. What was it, 1960?
I think so.
66? Yeah.
I think so, because a friend of mine said that her parents might not have been able to get married otherwise.
Yeah, I'm gonna check the date because it's important that we speak the truth here. It was from they got married in 1958. The actual case, Loving versus Virginia, was in 67. Yeah, 67.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Let me ask you just one more thing, since you mentioned it in passing. I Need Diverse Games, for people that might not be familiar with what that is. What is I Need Diverse Games?
It is a not-for-profit organization where we try to get people in the industry and keep them in the industry. Normally, in non-pandemic years, we send 25 people to the Game Developers Conference because we're a part of the scholarship program. We try to support things. So we supported Game Devs of Color, which is happening next month. Again, they're going virtual with everything going on in the world. VectorConf, which is a collegiate conference for game development, because a lot more schools have game dev programs right now. And since we're not going anywhere, and when I say we, it's mostly me, we've just been donating here and there where we can. If there's anything like game specific, where we can help out people, or because like I think virtual GDC is super cheap and or free, or they've got a free option. What we've been trying to do is get people there, like put resources back in the community, and not just be like, oh, here's like $500, yay, we did a thing. Because too many people do stuff like that, too many groups, or they have a code camp. You go for your 10, 12 weeks, they give you a laptop. Okay, good luck. So we want people to not just find a place in the industry, because fun fact, and I'm being sarcastic, this year's developer satisfaction survey says on the one hand that everyone wants diversity, a good chunk of people want diversity. There's only 2% of the entire development population that elected to answer this. 2% of developers are Black. And this is video games. This does not count tabletop. I don't know, tabletop does a similar survey. It's probably even less for tabletop, if we're real. So, and all the big three houses don't think they've got a lot or many Black employees. And I know people are like, oh, why are you only talking about Black people? Because right now we're talking about Black people. We're not ignoring everyone else. But right now, with what's going on in the world, especially with 3 people getting murdered in the last couple days, we talking about Black folks now. You will be okay if we don't talk about y'all for a minute. So we are not, and it comes back to that whole, school to prison pipeline, because not many of us can go to college. Not many of us can, or even go to these incubator programs, because those programs are cheap. It assumes you got a lot of money and a lot of spare time. How many folks do you know realistically can take 2, 3, 6 months off, go to some specialized incubator and afford it and pay their bills and take care of everything else, and they don't give you a stipend that's enough to cover your costs while you're gone, even if you do it remotely, that doesn't mean that you can just forget everything else you got to do, or getting the programs that you need, or, a lot of people are self-taught and that's cool. But now as more colleges have game design programs, you're getting the dreaded, oh, where'd you go to college? Where's your degree program from? Where'd you learn game design? And that's why a lot of people just go make games themselves. But then you got the struggle, how do I get my game published? How do I eat and still make a video game? How do I hire people? Because very few people unto themselves can make a whole game, unless it's like a Twine game or a smaller one. I know there's like 1 or 2 games that was literally one person, but it took them years to make it. So by the time it came out, people were like, oh, this is still coming out. This is still in development. And I don't know why people think the answer is always go make your own. I would love to make a video game, but with what coding skills, art skills, time. So we're trying to help people not just get in the door, but stay. Because a lot of people get in the industry and then they don't stay, because we all know what it's like to be the one Black person in an office, on a project, on set, on a D&D or other show, and you're like, looks a little pale. So that's what we do. And like right now, I'm trying to encourage people to donate to other things, because since we're not going anywhere, we actually have money. So while people have been super generous, and we're now as part of the Tiltify Black Lives Matter section, if you have spare money, please go give it to bail projects. Please go give it to other folks. Actually, we've got money in the bank and been donating back out. So for now, we're good.
I mean, what an amazing thing. And I will just say, just as an aside, I am always amazed and humbled by the generosity of this community. So thank you for that when we signal boost issues and things. And it's funny because we were talking about, I won't say who I was having a conversation with, but we were talking about charity fatigue right before all this happened, because we did so many COVID charities and fundraisers and, raising money for first responders and things like that. And everybody's like, man, we're tired of doing charity streams. I'm sure the people are tired of seeing the charity streams. And then the George Floyd protests began, and it was like, oh, okay. It's like Batman Returns, like the bat symbol just like comes over the wall.
Right.
It is time. Our people need us again, and, yeah, so thank you to, and again, I really need to underscore this also. Literally every dollar counts, wherever you're giving it. I've done a lot of charity stuff now. Wherever you're doing it, every single dollar counts. Because I hear people are like, well, I've only got like $10. I don't have like $200 or $2,000 to spend. I'm like, yo, believe me when I tell you, it all adds up. So if you have the financial wherewithal, and don't feel bad if you can't, there's been plenty of times in my life I didn't have an extra $5 to give, no matter how bad I wanted to. It was real. It bees like that sometimes. So don't feel guilty. But, like our friend Mika Burton said, you fight with the weapons with which you are proficient, so just whatever you can do, do whatever you can. Now, that being said, what say we take a small turn here into the world of darkness, because we will talk this entire time about, everything else that is going on.
Yes. We will.
Now, I don't want to bust anything out here. First of all, the next project you're doing, is your participation in the next project a secret, or are we going to just say it here? I actually don't know.
Vancouver by Night is in the chat. We should ask, because I don't know if they had a plan on when that would be spoken into the ether.
With hashtag subtlety. Well, in the meantime, I will just say you will be appearing in another stream soon, playing this character. So this is going to be your test run for someone. So,
we have the okay to reveal.
Hey, well, you know what? I'm gonna let you reveal it then. I'm gonna let you bust it out.
So you're hearing it live first, and there'll be a tweet later or during the show. I am joining the June 26th charity stream on Vancouver by Night, and playing the character that you're about to meet. I get to play with B. Dave. and Matt Mercer. We finally get to play in a game, and it's not D&D. Who else is revealed as playing? Because I don't want to let cats out of the bag.
But I'll let Vancouver bust out the rest of it. But at least the three of us, you, me, and Mercer, and you will be playing the Brujah Primogen of Vancouver, which means you will be the head Brujah for the city. What is her name? Introduce her to the world here.
Her name is Sienna Fouche. She originally was from Chicago, but she escaped shortly after Chicago fire because, well, brown chick, Chicago fire, they're looking at her sideways. She's like, deuces, I'm out. Our Canada's nice, even if it's cold. And she came across her primogen, Antoine Delacroix, who, saw her, thought, she'd make a good member of the group and embraced her. And at first she hated being a vampire. She was not okay with this. She was just like, I had things to do. I had plans. Why are you like this? And question, how far into this backstory should I give?
Lady's choice. I will just say one thing, dear viewer. Yeah. We did make this character for Vancouver by Night. We know they got a place they're going with it, so maybe some of this stuff might change between here and there.
Right.
Our current understanding of Sienna's life. So yeah, you lay it all out.
Well, so after she got acclimated to being a vampire and decided, this isn't as bad as I thought, she wanted revenge and took out her primogen and rose her way through the top. And then she took him out by hook and by crook and by various other ways, which, her being a younger vampire was difficult, but she pulled it off eventually. And now she's primogen. Celerity power deuces, I'm out.
That's how we roll. Yes, excellent. Well, fantastic. For the sake of ease and continuity, although you are the Brujah Primogen of Vancouver, today, for our purposes, you will be taking a small business trip down to Los Angeles.
All right.
Yes. Here in the world of darkness, it is June 14th. It is literally right now today. I will say the only thing that I always do differently in my stories is the actual pandemics and unrest in the world don't affect our world of darkness. So there is no COVID-19 and there's not currently any riots and protests in the street. We have a different sort of existential terror that we deal with here in these nights. Now, it is my understanding you have never played Vampire before, right?
Correct.
Excellent. Well, we talked before, you're going to need some 10-sided dice. I have my level up dice, which, by the way, if you want to get your clan dice, you can get them through my affiliate link, which is bit.ly.com/LUDB Dave Walters. But any 10-siders. You need to separate out some that are going to be your blood dice. I think we agreed that it would be your black dice, but I'm almost certainly going to refer to them as your red dice out of habit because...
No problem. I actually have red dice.
Oh, well, great. As long as you got some of them that are set aside that you know are your blood dice.
All right. So these 5, I've got 5 set aside for blood dice, and the rest are make that 6, and the rest are all my other dice.
Well, that will be fine. And you won't need more than 5 blood dice because for some reasons that I will explain if it ever becomes relevant, your hunger can't go past 5 because some different stuff happens if your hunger goes past 5. Okay. Mechanically, one thing you got to do is every night when you wake up, you have to roll one of those blood dice to see if you wake up hungrier or not. So just roll one right now. If it is a 1 to a 5, that is a fail. If it is a 6 to a 10, that is a success.
Got a 6.
All right. So you wake up with 1 hunger. The only way to get rid of your 1 hunger die is if you drain the last drop from a mortal. What vampires are at their core and in their essence is hunger. You're never quite satisfied except by doing the unthinkable. Tonight, we find Miss Sienna Fouche awakening in What sort of place would she want to stay if she knew she was coming to LA on business? Is she the type of girl she'd be at the Beverly Hills Hotel? Would she have some small apartment? Like, what kind of digs would she be looking for?
She'd probably have an Airbnb in a spot that is not really close to where tourists would be. Like
Mhm.
it's a midway point. Like she could easily get to downtown LA, but if she needs to leave and dip out, or maybe bring a mortal back with her if she's feeling a little peckish,
Mhm.
she could do that. And no, and they might get missed, they might not.
Mhm. We'll say you have an Airbnb over on the west side, which is firmly Camarilla territory these
Okay.
nights. Uh, you awake. Do you feel the cool night breeze blowing in through the windows of the house? Down here, this time of year, Los Angeles is beautiful at night, although you still hear the ambient hum of cars and traffic moving around that is never quite too far away from you. And you have been sent down here because the prince has asked you to recover a mortal of some significance. Uh, you were told before you left one thing that you're aware of is some mortals have special blood. All mortals, when you feed upon them, you can taste certain hints of emotion, a certain vibration that runs through them. Oftentimes, some kindred require them to be feeding certain emotions to feed upon. Even you yourself find the heady flavor of them being fascinated by you and your fame to be particularly intoxicating. If you feed on someone who doesn't know you, it's nowhere near as fulfilling. But that resonance is what you end up seeking. And there are those mortals that have even more unusual capabilities in their blood. And so the prince has asked you, one of her most capable agents and members of the Court of Vancouver, to come down here and handle this in person. The mortal that you're after, you have a picture of him. He is a DJ. And his name, he's a DJ. You have his Instagram handle. You know, his name is Willis, and his Instagram is at Spin Turtle. Those are the only two pieces of information you have to go on.
Okay. And he's at Spin Turtle on the Instagrams.
Mm-hmm. Also, y'all, OOC, I didn't check if there really is a spin turtle. If there is, please don't bombard this person. It just seemed dope in my mind.
Hey, that works.
Don't be like a vampire's coming for you. Run, dog, run. Yeah.
I'm like, and if this person really is, see, now I gotta look.
This is, I've been on the internet. I'm going to assume there is one because everything's taken, like any combination of words, who knows?
True. There is a Spin Turtle.
I told you, I've been on the internet. I know what it's like. So,
but there's only two pictures, and it's of a turtle.
that is maybe because they got in the past. That's why they haven't had a chance to post anymore. Tell us, what does Sienna look like?
Sienna is like average height. Back in those days, in the days of the Chicago Fire, she didn't get to eat well, but she's like 5'6", 5'7", long dark hair, but she keeps it braided. Tries to keep up with the style, so right now it's in braids, pulled back. Would it be cool in LA in the evening this time of year?
Summery. A little summery, yeah. But okay, you don't sweat, so you can wear whatever you want, to tell you the truth.
That's true. But she would have like just like crop top, leather pants, leather boots, and a jacket, but it'd be like one of those jackets that's kind of short in the front, but then trail down in the back, so she could hide her accoutrement and her weapons. And she does not wear her sunglasses at night, but they are on top of her head.
And what is Sienna's weapon of choice?
A short sword it's not quite regulation short sword, but it's something she can like keep sheathed and hidden on her back. But, you know, enough where she can kind of make people forget that she has a weapon on them if they notice the hilt.
While you are making your way around, you hear, "Hello," at your front door.
Which is weird because it's an Airbnb. Nobody should be knocking.
It is an Airbnb.
So I don't answer. I'm going to creep up to the door and see if I can either see out the peephole or get a sense of whether it's a mortal or another kindred out there.
As you sort of ease up towards the door, you kind of hear and then somebody sort of like has their hand trying to look through the windows, but you've got thick curtains because, again, don't want any sunlight coming in.
Right.
When you kind of make out the hint of somebody trying to see something, and as you look through the peephole, there is a young, shaggy-haired man. He's sort of wearing like a windbreaker, sandy brown hair, and he's just like, "Hello, no, oh geez." And once you see this, do you do anything, or do you still kind of keep watching him?
I'm going to keep watching him to see like if he's either lost or if this is a setup.
After a couple of moments, you see he goes over. This Airbnb was one of the ones you set up. You didn't actually meet the owner. It was one thing, like the key was kind of waiting for you in the lockbox type thing. You see, he goes over and he kind of starts fidgeting with the lockbox, and then he comes over and tries the handle on the door. He's like, it, and he bangs like a little harder. Boom, 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 boom. "Hello."
What time of night is it?
It's just after sundown. The way the kindred work is when the sun rises, the supernatural animating principle just departs your body. And for lack of a better word, from the second the sun rises to the second it sets, you are a corpse, completely inert. And when the sun drops behind the horizon, you awaken again. So the sun goes down 7:38 this time of year. We'll say it's 8:30.
Okay, so he's banging harder on the door. So I have a sword in hand. I'm like, who is it?
Oh, you see he sort of backed up like he was kind of preparing himself to kick the door. And then when he hears who is it, he just like jumps for a second. He goes, hey, my name's Tommy. I stayed in there like 2 nights ago, and I like left something, and I was wondering if I could like come in and see if I lost it.
No.
Oh, he very much like kind of holds his head and like paces back and forth. He's like, it's like really important. Maybe like, if I can't come in, could you like look for me?
What is it you supposedly left?
You see, he like looks around for a second, like very much towards the street. You know, you're set back from the street, kind of up on a porch, and he's like, I was like holding, and but it wasn't mine, and I like got like a little twisted up, and I left it in there, and like some guys are gonna like, you know, be like fucking pissed at me if I don't like either pay them or like make good. So it was in the bedroom.
Back up from the door.
He goes like he was about to knock, and you say back up from the door, and he does like back up and hold his hands up.
Knock again. I'm going to take your hands. Give me 5 minutes.
Oh yeah. Okay. It was like under the bed, or maybe like between the mattress and the box spring. Like I don't know. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. I'm gonna like wait here and be cool. Thank you.
I'm going to go look for whatever he was holding. Would I be? I mean, do I still have like normal senses of smell and stuff while I am animated?
Yes, you do, and you do not have any of the supernatural senses. So basically, what you yourself right now are capable of, you're capable of. But you could look, you could check and see what he's looking for.
All right, I'm going to make a cursory look around
Mm-hmm.
um, because in mortal life she wouldn't have known what to look for.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, she's just going to look around and see if anything looks out of place. Because she wouldn't have slept in the bed, though, right?
You could have. It's up to you. Different kindred do it different ways. Some do sleep in beds. Some sleep under the bed. Some's like rock coffins. It's just wherever you can be that you know the sunlight's not going to hit you. Really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll check for it, but she really doesn't know what she's looking for.
As you sort of like look under the bed, because he's like, it's under the bed or it's under the mattress, you're kind of like, what even is that? Like, you lift up the mattress and you do see something. You see a small bag of white pills with little red dots on them, and there's symbols that are painted on them. Some of them look like red hearts. Some of them look like diamonds. Some of them look like little skulls. And it is a give me, I'm going to take a look at your sheet here and see what you know. You can give me your wits and your streetwise. So what that means for you, that is going to be 6 dice.
Okay.
And one of those needs to be your blood die, because right now your hunger is at 1. Because that is how you roll things. It is always one of your attributes, and it's either your attribute plus a skill, an attribute plus a discipline, or in some instances, it is attribute plus discipline plus skill. So in this case, 6 dice, one of them needs to be red.
Okay, my red die was a 2.
Okay.
And the total for the rest are 11, 18.
Yeah, you need any, if it is a 1 through 5, that is a fail. If it is a 6 through 10, that is a success.
Okay. So that's including the blood die or not including the blood die?
Each individual die. So let's say if you roll 3 6s, that's 3 successes. But if you roll 3 5s, that's 3 failures.
Okay, so it's an even split, 3 and 3.
Okay, so you get 3 successes. Also, if anytime if you roll any 10s, let me know, because if you roll 2 10s, that's important. That's how you crit. You crit every 2 10s is a crit. All right, so 3 successes. Although you yourself don't necessarily sully your hands with such things, as an artist, you've been at parties and you know what happens at parties. You've seen pills like this before at some of the poetry readings and get-togethers in Vancouver. You know this is with 3 successes, you don't necessarily know a lot about it, but you definitely know you've seen these at kindred parties. That were some of the mortals were taking them.
Okay.
Mechanically, just so you know, mechanically with this game is based on the more successes you get at a thing, the more you know. So let's say if you'd roll 6 successes, 10 successes, it might have been like, you definitely know X, Y, and Z. With 3 successes, that's the information you possess.
Okay, so basically I know that mortals use this for something. And for having fun. All right. So I grabbed this bag of pills, and I still don't trust this dude who basically looks like Shaggy out of the cartoon just showed up. Is the door one where I can leave it chained and just kind of throw the bag out in the hall?
Yeah, you definitely could leave it chained and open it and kind of like toss it to him. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do, because I do not trust this dude just showing up. Because also Airbnbs are supposed to be cleaned after someone checks out. So part of this does not add up.
As you come back, you still kind of his silhouette of like trying to look through the bay window again, looking back and forth. And as you approach, do you say anything to him before you open the door?
I just yell out, "I see you poking through the window."
Sorry. It's just like, oh man, this is just, it's like so fucked up. Did you find it? Please tell me you found it. Oh my God, did you find it?
Actually, is there space for me to slide this under the door or no?
Not under the door. Well, you know what? Hang on. We'll let fate decide if there's a mail slot, because a lot of these houses are older houses, so we'll see. There is not a mail slot. In fact, since we're letting fate make the call, there's not a chain either. I gave a certain percentage that there'd be a mail slot, and I rolled 100, so there's no mail slot, and I'm gonna say the chain's broken.
Great. I mean, I'm stronger than him. He's immortal, as far as I know.
As far as you know.
All right, so I'm just going to crack the door as little as I have to pitch this bag of pills out at him.
Mm-hmm. He sort of like scrambles down and he picks it up and he opens it and he looks down in it and he's like, oh, wait, oh my God, oh, thank you so much, thank you. This is all of them, right? You didn't take any of them, did you? Wait, what?
I just shut the door while he's doing this.
Right, and he like you see he very much is like. Of course, it's nearly impossible to count all the pills in a bag like this, but he's still trying. He's like, okay, hey, wait, hold on. And then he knocks. He's like, I owe you. You know, I mean, like, yeah, obviously you can't like tell anybody that I was here, like, of course, but like you're like somebody do. Like, I know this is like Airbnb or whatever. Like, I don't think, are you the owner? Like, I mean, like, let me like hook you up with something. Can I like do something for you?
How hungry am I?
At this exact second, not very. Real. I mean, don't get me wrong. As a kindred, you are always hungry, but you do not need to eat at this moment. You could, but you don't have to.
And he's probably high, isn't he?
He is, which you would also know if he's on something and you drink his blood. That is kind of the only way kindred can partake. A rare few are still capable of consuming food and drink or anything else. But for the most part, if you want caffeine, you kind of need an amped up mortal and then drink from them. If you want to partake of anything else, you kind of need a human who's partaking and then you drink from them.
Okay. No, I'm good. Just go about your way.
He's like, oh, great. Cool. Give me your wits and your awareness, which this is a pretty big pool for you. That is going to be 7 dice. And again, make sure you at least replace one of them with your red die.
Yep. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, 7. I got a 10. Oh, this is up and down. So I got 4 successes, 3 fails.
Okay, 4 successes, but only one of them was a 10?
Yes, my blood die was actually the 10.
Okay, let me know if you get 2, because again, some interesting things happen when you get those. Okay, while he's like, all right, thanks, you're kind of like watching him leave, you see a large SUV pull up outside and there's sort of like some muffled voices and he kind of like says something, like he points at the bag and a couple of guys come out and grab him and throw him in the back of the SUV. And you see one of them turns and looks at the house and let's see here. One of them just sort of like looks at the house for a moment and then gets back in the SUV and then like roars off.
Oh, well. I mean, they're gone. It's not like I can go out and chase them that fast. I have no idea.
I mean,
because inside,
well, you are fast. If you wanted to attempt to intervene before they left, you could, but no, you don't have to.
But then that mortal would owe me a favor. More of a favor. You know what? Let's make it interesting. Let's go after him.
Okay. How do you want to go after him? Like, do you want to rip the door open while they're still standing there? Do you want to give chase in your car? Do you want to physically run? Like, what would you like to do?
I'm gonna if I open the door as I hear them, would I have a chance to stop them from leaving?
You could if that was your goal, because you kind of had a beat when they'd thrown him in the car and the guy's looking at the house. So yeah, you would have a beat there.
All right, let's do it.
All right.
I pull open the door and stick my head out.
Now, it so happens you have a merit known as status. You are actually quite influential in the Camarilla community, which means there is a chance that, well, you have two things going for you. You are famous. So what is she famous for, by the way? What is Sienna known for in mortal circles?
Currently, she is known for her award-winning series of vampire stories that no mortal thinks is actually ever possible, but because they're so fantastical, people read them as fantasy versus horror. But they're all actually very lightly serial number faded off stories of things she has experienced in all of her long years. And occasionally she streams to Twitch, of course, super late at night.
So you have that fame in the mortal world, but you also have status in the kindred world, specifically among Camarilla vampires. You are well known. Vancouver is a prominent city. You are a prominent kindred there, and you've done things of note. So when you yank the door open, this man actually turns and looks at you for a moment, and he just stops and he sort of like pulls his glasses down for a second, because he is that guy wearing sunglasses at night. And he just stops and he goes, "Sienna Fouche?"
Yes, who are you?
You see, he like looks back towards the back of the truck there, and he's like, he sort of just like, you see, he leans back and he says something in towards the car that you don't quite make out. And he very like slowly approaches, and he's like, "We didn't know that you were going to be in town, or did you have some business with Tommy?"
Yes. Do you have business with him?
He sort of like straightens his tie a little bit, and he kind of like buttons his suit coat up, because you realize he'd kind of unbutton the top one, which you've been around long enough, it's easier to reach for something, but he buttons it up, and he's like, my employer does. I work for Mr. Jeffrey Higgins. Now we will see if that name Jeffrey Higgins means anything to you. And we will do that by rolling your wits and your streetwise.
Which is
6 dice for you.
okay.
And again, you got to replace at least one of them with your blood die.
That is where we're at. All right. This will teach me to not get dice that I can't read. 4 successes, 1 10, but 2 fails.
All right. 4 successes. You know that name. He is a toreador that puts on a sort of like, he throws big parties in cities, then he kind of moves on. In kindred society, especially amongst the Camarilla, there's something called the Succubus Club, which is a huge moving party. It is almost like a kindred Mardi Gras that pops up places and kind of stays a night or two and then moves along. And you sort of got to know somebody to get in. This Jeffrey Higgins guy does like the knockoff version of that. It's the Knott's Berry Farm to the Succubus Club's Disneyland. Basically, shout out to Knott's Berry Farm, by the way. Like off in the distance, Snoopy's like, but it is sort of like the much younger cousin, or would love to be younger cousin to the Succubus Club, is what this Higgins guy does.
Okay. And is this Tommy going to be entertainment for later?
It's well, with respect, ma'am, I'm not supposed to really talk about Mr. Higgins' dealings, but you're you. I fucking love those books, by the way. Sorry. Sorry. Tommy is he's what we call recruiter. He was doing some work for us at this very locale just a couple of nights ago, but Tommy gets a little sloppy, so we might have to motivate him.
I see. Well, if you don't mind, I'd be interested in learning how you do things down here.
He's like, oh yeah, of course. Hey, if I could call another car for you. I don't know that you're gonna want to be in that car, but if you, I would love to escort you to meet Mr. Higgins yourself if you're available.
Yeah, just give me a couple minutes to grab a bag.
He's like, yeah. And he turns and he looks at that car and he does this, and the SUV speeds away. And he pulls out his phone. He's like, I'm gonna get us a proper ride. I'll be right here.
Okay. So I just go, I bring any accoutrement I might need because I travel light.
Mm-hmm.
And once I know that I've got anything that if I leave it here, it can stay here.
Mm-hmm.
Throw a small backpack on my bag, and I'm like, all right, let's go.
When you come back out, there's a stretch limo outside. And this guy is standing there with a huge smile on his face.
Well done.
He's like, thanks, by the way. I'm Millie. Like 9 Millie? No, it sounds stupid when I say it to you, but that's what they call me. He does extend a hand to you.
All right, I shake it. I just give him like a coy little smile, like, nice to meet you.
Now, you possess super strength. Do you give him a little squeeze to let him know what's up, or do you just kind of give him a normal handshake?
For now, a normal handshake, because he seems to be a little bit like starstruck.
Clearly.
So there's no reason to hurt him yet.
Right? He shakes your hand and he sort of like motions towards the car. And when he does, he like snaps his finger and you see somebody gets out of the passenger side and opens up the back of it for you. And he's like, ma'am.
I slide in, get comfy, do the whole proper celebrity sit, legs crossed.
The reverse Britney?
Yes. I'm wearing pants, so.
When you get inside the car, it is 2 rows. It looks almost more like the inside of a jet than a standard limo.
Okay.
There's the back bench of seats, and the one side has been completely taken out, and there is a full bar there where you see pretty much any spirit that you can think of. There's champagne, there's all top shelf things. There's also several bottles of what are clearly blood. You can tell just by looking at them. And there is also down at the bottom of it, a large cage that has a very fat rat in it down at the bottom.
So a snack bar.
Mm-hmm. And he's like, can I get you anything?
And so I look at it and think about what I'm wearing. It's like, well, I don't want to sully my clothes by touching that rat. But if you could, pour me a nice glass that I can finish before we get to our destination, I'd appreciate it.
He's like, oh, yeah, absolutely. And if you like, we even have fresh from the tap, as it were.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we and he and you see up front near the front seat, it swivels all the way around in place. And there's a young man sitting there, the same young man that had opened the door for you, who is wearing sort of like a chauffeur's outfit, even though he's in the passenger seat with gloves. And he sort of like rolls the glove down and pushes his sleeve up a little bit and kind of like holds his wrist out. He's like, whatever you like. We got more where we're going. I just, I didn't know your type, what you're into. He's He's like, this guy, you know how in your third book, how you had the quarterback of the third book,
Yeah.
he looks just like him, right? And he does, by the way, like how you describe this person, this kid does look like him.
Huh. Living fan art. Interesting.
That's why I hired him. I never thought I'd meet you. I got to tell you. But yeah, if you want a little taste of that, you want a little taste of this, if you want a little something at the house, whatever you like.
I could go for a nibble.
He very like makes his way across the limo, like stooped just slightly, and he extends his wrist to you with a smile.
And I just give him a respectful head nod and take a little sip, enjoy the warm vintage.
For mortals, being fed on is very pleasurable. So when you sink your fangs into his wrist, his eyes roll back in his head slightly, and he tastes great. It is clear he takes good care of himself, works out, eats well. It's nice. It's nice. And after you are done feeding, if you lick the wound, it closes it up. And he looks at you and he just says, "Oh, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much."
You're welcome. You were delicious.
You see he blushes clearly. And the other man, Millie, is just like, "Yeah, all right. And just sort of like, he like goes back over and sits in the passenger side, which like rotates around in place, and the limo takes off. And Millie looks at you and he's like, if you don't mind me asking, what's brought you to town?
Oh, just a little assignment that needed a personal touch.
His eyes kind of get big for a second. He's like, I realize you might not be able to say too much, but is there anything I can help you with? I know everybody in this city.
Do you know? Do you know the local nightlife, as it were?
He's like, my work with Mr. Higgins keeps me up all hours, as it were. Yeah.
Do you know anyone named Willis?
Let's see if he does. He's like, there's a Willis. It's a spinner out of Santa Monica. Yeah. You looking for him? I don't want you to have to get your hands dirty. If he did wrong by you and you just need him to get got.
No, nothing like that. But I would be interested in an introduction, if you don't mind.
He pulls his phone out and he sort of you see he starts typing for a minute and he's like, how bad do you need this guy?
Pretty badly, but we don't need him. We don't need him got. I just would like to meet him. Not know where I can find him.
He's like, looks like, yeah. Looks like he's got a show tonight, Santa Monica. You want me to put some eyes on him till you get there?
Sure, but I would at least like to say hello to Mr. Higgins, pay my respects to the family in the area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. We'll head right on. Yeah. He hits it and Carrie drives on. You see you making your way through West LA and kind of on the outskirts of LA as you enter sort of the Santa Monica Pacific Palisades type area. It becomes sweeping and beautiful with lush rolling hills and these palatial estates and right sort of at the edge of town, you all turn off and move up into a neighborhood where there is a large stately house, which would be just a mansion in most any other city. But here in this particular part of the world is just another house on the street. It's not even sitting at the cul-de-sac. and you see that same SUV that they took Tommy away in is parked in the driveway. And as you all pull up, you see the kid up front hops out and comes around and opens the door for you and offers his hand to help you get out.
All right, I take his hand and give him a smile.
Mm-hmm. When you stand up, he just sort of like whispers faintly, "Thank you so much," and smiles.
I just give him a nice little pat on the cheek because he's adorable.
And when you sort of pat him, Millie gets out, and he very much is like, all right. You come on, get out of the way here.
Jealous.
He's like, this professional jealousy, man, professional jealousy. And he's like, as you're walking over, sort of across the street towards the house, he just says, Mr. Higgins, he's set up shop here for past couple of months. We got an event coming up in about a week, and then pull up stakes, and I think we'll be off to who knows where. So you really had perfect timing here.
Some say I do have the devil's luck.
When you all walk towards the front door, the door just opens as you're getting there. And inside, there's a couple of suited men standing by the door. And a woman also wearing like a full, what you recognize as almost like a tactical cut suit. She's got short hair and hard eyes, and her face is all business, even though she gives you like a slight smile. And she says, Miss Delacroix? No, sorry. She flips through her sheet again, and she's like, Miss Fouche, I apologize. Miss Sienna Fouche?
You are correct.
She's like, welcome. Is there anything I can get for you? Would you, any particular age, race, nation, creed, intoxication levels?
Not too intoxicated, as I have things to do later. But about 5'5", thick, curvy, brown skin. Not too chatty, but she should be smart and able to hold a conversation.
When you say that, Millie just says, I know just the one. Get her Cornelia. She'll like Cornelia. And you see this woman stands there. She goes, I'm Watson, by the way. Nice to meet you. And I think you're right. I think Cornelia will be perfect. And you see she just sort of like taps into her. What you realize now was like just a data pad, like an iPad, basically.
Okay.
And she steps aside and motions for you to come in. As you enter into the place, it is one of those sort of minimalist layouts. All the art and everything is very fashionable. The furniture is low and angular with a lot of bright colors, orange couch, the shock of green in the curtains. It looks like something that was almost a snapshot out of the 1960s, just sort of picked up and put back down here. And there are a number of people in here. You realize there might be a dozen or more people here. They are everywhere. Some of them are on the couch. Some of them are by the glass fireplace, which just has a tiny little fire flickering because you by no means need heat at this time of year. You can see out through an open back door. There's sort of a pool and jacuzzi area, and they are engaged in all manner of types of hedonism. You see a woman take a long bump off of a glass coffee table, and as soon as her eyes roll back in her head, another woman leans over and sinks her fangs into her neck immediately. There are some that are by a bar, sort of like drinking and giggling. as a couple of other men sort of like lean in and are watching them hungrily as they are drinking. You see another young man that is sitting in front of a hookah with it's the hose sort of idly dangling from his mouth, puffing, as two other men are biting into both of his wrists, feeding on him. As you make your way in. And Watson turns and looks at you, and she's like, would you like to meet with her out by the pool, or would you like a private room to converse with Cornelia?
A private room, if you please.
Absolutely. Mm, let me up here. She walks over towards there's two stairs, one row that goes up and one that goes down. Again, if you had to wager a guess, it's just the upstairs or kind of down to like a basement area. And she looks at you and she's like, going up or going down?
And Sienna just smiles like, both if I'm lucky. Upstairs.
You hear Millie just sort of under his breath is like, you're so fucking cool. You're so fucking cool. You sort of make your way up, and you can see there is a row of rooms here. There's probably 3 bedrooms on this floor. And at the far end, you can see a staircase that goes up even further. And she stops and opens a door to a well-appointed room that sort of screams guest room. It's nice, but there's nothing personal about it in any way. You know, there's no pictures. There's no like, you know, tchotchkes that would let you know like a person lives here as such. But it is there is a bed and like a little couch. There is you notice there's a record player with a vinyl record on it. With a Stevie Wonder 78 sitting on it. And Millie looks at you and he's like, maybe give you a few minutes with Cornelia, and then I can introduce you to the boss.
All right. Although it'll be more than a few minutes.
He looks at you again and he just says, again, it's just professional jealousy. Professional jealousy. And he sort of backs out of the room. A few minutes later, a woman that looks just like you described sort of comes gliding in. It is almost like you special ordered her. And she walks up and she's like, you rang?
I did.
She looks at you for a second and she says, I thought they were joking with me when they said Sienna Fouche was here.
Why would they joke with you like that?
I mean, I wouldn't think someone like you would find your way here with someone like me.
And why not?
I tend not to have a lot of good luck. And she comes in and closes the door.
Well, maybe that could change.
She sort of slides along the edge of the room, kind of like looking at the bookshelf. And she looks up and she laughs. She's like, huh. And she slides out a worn copy of your first book and holds it up and shows it to you. And she says, I guess some things are meant to be, huh?
Definitely. So, quick question. Is she a kindred or is she mortal?
So, The game is actually contradictory on this point in some places. In some places, it says there is no way to know a kindred just by looking at them. And in other places, it says you are clearly a walking corpse, and anyone will know immediately if you're a kindred. There are a few ways to find out. The simplest way is to just touch someone, see if they're warm, see if they have a pulse, or
Okay.
just try and observe, see if they're breathing, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Would you like to try and find out if she's a human?
Sure, but I will do so in the course of our conversation.
Mm-hmm. Okay. She sort of rubs her hand slowly across the cover of it, and she's like, would you mind personalizing this one for me?
Not at all, but do you have a pen on you?
She sort of looks around for a second, and she's like, I guess I don't. And she like looks at the desk and she's like, I hate these places. They're just all facade. It's supposed to look so cozy and warm and homely when it's none of those things.
True. Very true. Well, don't worry. We'll make sure that it's personalized before we leave.
She sort of looks towards the bed or looks towards the couch and she's like, where would you like to continue?
Your choice. I'm the visitor.
She sort of walks over towards the couch and she sits down and she's like, can be a multi-stage encounter, wouldn't you say?
It could be, yes.
When she sits down next to you, you do detect a small glint of sweat on her, a little bit. Like she might be nervous, she might be excited. It is hard to say, but one thing you do know from your many years of unlife, kindred do not sweat.
All right. So I reach over and tilt her chin up to look at me.
Mm-hmm.
And I look her in the eye and go, what is it that you want out of being here or even this encounter with me?
I want what you want. If you leave happy, my job is done.
All right.
What do you want out of this encounter?
A little bit of conversation. Not to be as hungry but as I was when I walked in.
Well, you have to be careful, Miss Sienna Fouche. You might develop all sorts of odd cravings after this.
Explain.
Well, you're visiting. We're having our lovely time here, but afterwards, if you find yourself wanting an encore, what will you do?
I have ways of finding people.
She sort of sits back and she says, can I make a small confession?
Sure.
I was aware of your literature, of course. I did not know that you were a kindred.
Most people don't, and we usually keep it that way.
I can't imagine what that's like. All those years, all those decades. saying young and beautiful.
It gets boring after a while, honestly.
Well, and she does sort of run her hand across the book. She's like, I'm starting to think that maybe some of these stories weren't just stories.
I'll never tell.
And what would I have to do to have a certain 5'3" curvy character show up in the next one? And she does lean in closer to you when she says this.
I just smile and grab her hair and pull her head back a little bit. I don't know. Make sure that I'm satisfied on every front. Stop trying to guess what stories are real. And perhaps, if you're memorable enough, you could maybe wind up in one of them. After all, it's not like I'm going to run out of time to tell stories.
Well, I guess as long as I get to live the adventure, even if you don't write it, it'll always be our secret.
And what do you think will happen if it stops being our secret?
I will have no shortage of people coming to me to ask, is it true what it was like being with the illustrious, famous, magical Sienna Fouche?
That's not quite what I meant, but I'll take it for now.
And we will let a soft fade happen there. A few long minutes later, when time reignites, you hear a very soft knock at the door, attempting to not be too intrusive as you find yourself in a tangle of arms and legs and sheets.
I will leave my companion. I take it she's knocked out by now.
Mm-hmm.
Or in that happy haze of being fed upon and other things.
Mm-hmm.
I will wrap myself in a spare sheet and just kind of crack the door open. What?
You do see Millie standing there. And you can see on his face, he takes all of this in, but he doesn't say anything. And he just says, when you're ready, the boss would like to meet you.
All right. Give me a little bit to clean up and be presentable.
He just nods and gives you the tiniest of smiles and like turns his back on the door.
Oh, boy. So I go get cleaned up and I leave her a note.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on where my other business takes me, I may return tonight or tomorrow. And I make sure I sign the book.
She, again, I gave a certain percentage chance of her waking up or hearing you, and I rolled a 1. So she is knocked out. Okay. With a tiny smile on her face.
Yeah, but she whenever she does come around, she will have the note and a loving inscription in the book that is tucked under her arm.
Excellent. You get yourself ready again, and when you open the door again, Millie is standing there. And again, he's got a small smile on his face, but he's a gentleman enough that he does not say a word.
Good for him.
And he's like, this way.
All right. I follow him and I just have a little smirk, make sure that my clothes are pressed down and everything's buttoned correctly.
Nope. It's all good. This is literally not your first rodeo. So he takes you further up into the house, and you see on the next level there is almost like a master suite, which is large and open, and there are a couple. There are two young people, a young man and a young woman, both of whom are on those huge beanbag chairs. And they look like they're probably sleeping. And there's an empty bottle of Gentleman Jack kind of like laying on its side. And at the far side of the room, you see a man in what you know to be a nice dress shirt, but it is just barely buttoned, kind of just starting right in the middle, like open over his chest. The sleeves are kind of hastily pushed up there. And he has a glass next to him that is an empty something. And he is writing on a piece of paper when you come in. And he looks up and he's like, "Ah, yes. Mr. Sienna Fouche, Miss Sienna Fouche. Hi, how are you?"
I'm good. Hopefully I didn't interrupt you.
He says, "Oh, the party never stops. I hope you found our accommodations pleasing."
Oh, more than pleasing.
He stands up and extends a hand to you.
I give him a firm handshake, not enough to show my unnatural strength, but enough to go, we understand each other.
He's like, "Please have a seat. I must admit, he sits down and he's like, "I was more familiar with your political work. I regret to inform I have not had a chance to read any of your novels, but now I definitely will put them at the top of the list."
No bother. We both know we're not going anywhere for a while.
Absolutely. Would you be terribly offended if I sort of skip some of the pleasantries and we just sort of get to it?
No, it'd be refreshing for a change, actually.
He just sort of motions like this, and you see Millie goes over to a nearby closet and opens it. And inside you see Tommy, and his hands are bound, and he has a gag in his mouth, and he's just sort of standing in the closet like, and then Millie closes the door again.
Oh, yeah, him.
And Higgins is like, "That motherfucker stole from me."
Oh, is that the baggie that he banged on the door for?
Yeah. He was supposed to do some recruiting for me to mixed success. And he ate of the forbidden fruit, as it were. He misplaced some things that were not his to misplace. He made use of some things that were not his to make use of.
Oh. That's pretty egregious.
So, an example needs to be made, as you well know. Reputation is everything.
Yeah. Would you like me to bear witness to this to confirm what's happened to this person who's mislaid your trust?
I must admit, it is not often that I get somebody from a court as prestigious as yours. If I might carry out my just and due justice on him, I wouldn't mind if you saw it. Yes.
All right. I will just make myself comfortable. And I just fed, so I'm not hungry. So this will be entertainment. Some after dinner dessert, shall we say?
He sort of smiles and strokes his beard and looks at you again, and he's like, "Let me ask you one question. Since I have great respect for your accomplishments, when you've been slighted, are you more from the mercy school of thought, the justice school of thought, or the revenge school of thought?"
Oh, absolutely revenge. Because slighting me is less than anyone will do, mortal or otherwise.
He stands up and he just like snaps his fingers again. And Millie opens the door, and this time he reaches out and kind of grabs a handful of Tommy's hair and throws him down on the floor. And he's like, and Millie looks down at him and is like, "Shut the fuck up, man. Try and die with some dignity." And he's like, and Higgins sort of stands up and walks over to him and is like, Tommy, hey, Tommy. And he like rolls him over with his shoe. And you see he's wearing like these nice gator loafers.
Yeah.
And you see his eyes are like ringed red with tears there. And he's like, "Do you understand how you got yourself into this mess, Tommy?" And he's like, he's like, "Oh, you don't?" He's like, He's like, "Oh, okay." And you see almost faster than you could follow with your eye, Higgins moves back to his desk and pulls a what you thought was a letter opener, but is about this long jet black knife, and is back over there to him with it right at his neck. And he's like, you don't understand." And he's like, "Oh, you do understand. Oh, okay, great. I tell you what." And he looks over at you, Sienna, and he says, "You, I like to think of myself as a conservationist, big into recycling. Like we're gonna live a long time. We might as well have an earth to live on, right?
Yeah.
What do you say we repurpose our boy Tommy here?"
Can he be trusted, though?
Oh no, he can't be trusted. He cannot. And just to make sure he doesn't decide to get a little grabby with something that doesn't belong to him, you hear, and in a flash, he slashes off Tommy's bound thumbs and just pulls them off. Where his hands are there without thumbs now. He's like, and he looks at him. He goes, "Tommy, shut the fuck up." And you hear he's absolutely quiet. He's nothing. And he's like, you familiar with those little white pills Tommy might have had on his person?
I've seen mortals using them at some of our events, but I'm not 100% sure exactly what they do for them.
He walks back over to the desk holding Tommy's two bound thumbs because they were wrapped around there, sort of just like twirling them in his fingers, looking at them. He's like, if I tell you a slightly professional secret, would you, I would hope that it could stay between us.
Oh, absolutely. I rarely partake in such things and don't really seek out mortals that have indulged in that manner, so we're good.
It's the thin bloods. the Duskborn. Now, you, Sienna, being a kindred of a certain age, would know that especially in Camarilla circles, the Duskborn, or the Thin Bloods, are usually looked down upon. It is a generation of kindred where when each kindred sires another kindred, the blood gets a little weaker each time going down. And it was foretold in ancient prophecies that there would come a generation where the blood was so thin they could not procreate and make new vampires. And when that happened, those people are a sign of the end. That basically right after the Thin Bloods arrive, it's the apocalypse, and everything will be destroyed essentially. Okay. So many Camarilla vampires, especially older ones, hate Thin Bloods. Whether how you yourself feel about them, I will leave up to you, but they are generally looked down upon in Camarilla society. And I will go so far to say also, you being particularly plugged in, the Camarilla of Los Angeles are actively waging war upon the Thin Bloods.
Okay. Sienna would treat them with disdain. She wouldn't go out of her way to hunt them unless it would cause trouble in Vancouver. But knowing what she does about LA, but also knowing she's a guest, she is going to follow Higgins' example.
They figured out a way where they can capture the kiss. When we feed on the mortals and they love it and they just... that... They got a way to capture that.
Huh.
And the mortals get strung out on it, as you might imagine.
Yeah.
In my line of work, in the parties that I throw, it has been a useful tool in the toolbox to give them a little taste of what they can look forward to if they come and spend a little time with us.
All right. And take it, Tommy here has been peddling that to people he shouldn't have.
Exactly. Like I said, he's a recruiter. He helps me find top talent for our soirees. As you know, it's we need a certain amount of discretion with what we do. An interesting mix of look, personality, intelligence, and ability to keep your mouth closed. And you might recall a few months back, there was that bit of unfortunateness at the Succubus Club here in LA when Victoria Ash came through, which, again, Sienna, you being a very plugged in kindred, would know, even though there were varying accounts of what actually happened, about 150 mortals ended up dead at the end of the Succubus Club. Was blamed on gas leak, fire, faulty wiring, blah, 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 to maintain the Masquerade. But a lot of people got killed at the last Succubus Club. And it was kind of a headache to cover up, really.
Yeah.
It's literally bad for business because I think you understand the Cornelias of the world are in short supply. There's a Tommy on every fucking corner, though.
There always has been, even in my day when I was mortal.
If you don't mind me asking, when was your day?
You remember the Great Chicago Fire?
Read about it. I'm a 70s baby. Really?
1970s.
Yeah. 1970s.
I was there.
He sort of leans forward, his eyes gleaming a little bit. Were you there or were you there?
I was adjacent enough that I got a little bit of heat for it. Excuse the pun.
Nice. I I was I was a dancer. I kind of came up with Don Cornelius pre-Soul Train, you know,
Mm.
and was doing my thing out there and caught the eye of a certain toreador that was passing through, and she decided, you know, that the party needed to go on and on and on and on and on and on, and so it has until now.
Were you embraced against your will then?
I didn't really know what was happening. I
Mm.
just thought, you know, it was weird. You know, some of us, when we give them the bite, they get strung out on it. They need it. They have to keep coming back. You know, she did that to me and strung me along for a good long while until she brought me over to the other side of the fence.
Mm.
He sort of leans back and he just like puts the thumbs down on the desk in front of him and he's like, "Do you have any childer? Have you created any more offspring?"
Only a couple, but with their consent. I didn't want anyone else to deal with it the way I did.
It's it's weird. They think just one big party that lasts forever probably sounds like heaven to some people, but I think you know as well as I do. Not so much.
Not at all.
Uh, if you don't mind, Millie here told me that you were here looking for somebody, uh, Willis spin turtle.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't want to impress upon someone of your stature, but if you don't mind, I'm gonna get Millie to drop off Tommy here, and maybe we can make that Willis connection happen for you.
I greatly appreciate it.
You see, when he says that, uh, Millie looks down at Tommy and sort of like roughly gets him to his feet. And you realize since he looked at him and told him to, you know, since Wilson looked at him, Watson rather. Oh, sorry, I'm mixing up all my own names. No. Since Higgins looked at him and told him to shut the fuck up, you realize Tommy has not made a peep since then. Even though he is like bleeding slightly from the wounds on his hand. And Millie sort of like pulls out some gauze and sort of like wraps his hands up. So they're still bound like this, but now there's sort of like the bandage across the top of it.
Ooh.
And he's like, "Yeah, we got to drop this guy off at a lab, and then I'm going to help you do what you got to do, all right?"
Yeah, that'd be great.
And Higgins looks at you. He's like, you need anything? You good? You guns, money, party favors?
Well, depending on how long this takes us, I would like to say goodbye to my party favor.
He says, "I don't usually do this for my guests, but you are not a usual guest." And he writes down a name and a number and he slides it across. He's like, "If you don't make it back, that's her contact info. I have an open door policy. They come and they go. I'm not some sort of like fucked up modern day slave trader. It's just I find once they get that taste, they keep coming back."
Yeah, She intrigues me.
Mm. She is intriguing.
To say the least.
And he stands up and extends a hand and he's like, maybe I'll do one of these get-togethers up in Vancouver, huh?
Oh, I would love to host you.
And he extends his hand for you to shake it.
I shake it. I'm firm, but I don't try to break his hand. But just so that he is reminded of the difference.
He just smiles and like nods his head a little. And he's like, Millie, you know what to do. And he just says, yes, sir. And pulls his gun out and knocks Tommy over the back of the head. And he hits the ground.
Oh, well.
And that is a good place for us to take a little break. So we'll do a quick 10. And we will come back and jump in to finish out our silky smooth and uneventful story here. So we will we'll be back in 10 minutes.
Yes.
Hello. Yes. And, welcome back to one-on-one shots. Yeah, with Ms. Tanya DePass. Again, if you have any questions, write it in chat with a capital question in front of it. I made the mistake of not mentioning that before the break. And if you did say something to us earlier, it's possible it has scrolled away in chat. So feel free to post it again with a capital question in front of it there.
Yeah, there were a couple.
I messed this all up, so QueueTimes production overlords, if you can, grab the questions for us and drop it in chat, please. Since I did not say that at the beginning and we did not grab it during the break to talk more about now, let's actually dive back into Sienna's story here, and we will just have a couple more questions on the backside of it instead. But again, anything you want to ask Tanya, anything you want to ask me, write the word question in front of it in chat there, and our QueueTimes production overlords will pull it out and have it over here for us so we can see it. Sienna.
Yes.
After this display in Higgins' office where Millie knocks Tommy out, he picks him up and hoists him over his shoulder like he doesn't weigh a pound, and proceeds to head back out to the SUV that you saw them load him into in the first place. So unless there's anything else you want to do here in the house at this party, we will pick up a little ways down the road.
No, like I said, I have a way to get in touch with my new friend, so it's not as pressing that I get back and see to her.
All right.
I got a way to reach out and keep in touch.
I will say, as you're making your way out again, you see she is still there in the room, sleeping happily, and you see Watson, the woman that greeted you when you first came in, as you're walking by, just looks at you and kind of goes,
I just.
And you all go out, and you're in the SUV, and you are off out into the nights of Los Angeles, with Tommy bound in the back of the SUV like it is nothing. And as you're driving through the night, Millie just says, "Can I ask you a strange question?"
Go for it.
I was like, "You seem really cool with all of this," and he sort of like motions to Tommy in the back there. It's like, you probably got your hands dirty in the past, huh?
Yes, you don't get to be primogen by being fussy and unwilling to get a little dirty.
He just sort of looks at you. He's like, yeah, that makes sense. I don't understand all the politics myself, but it seems like it's if you are speaking for the Bruja, then it must be working well, I guess.
Well as can be. No one faction is without little issues here and there, but for the most part, no one seems unhappy, or they don't have the nerve to tell me to my face.
The beatings will continue until morale improves, huh?
Only consensual ones.
Mm. That's put me down for more professional jealousy.
Well, you could get a passport.
I'm definitely going to encourage the boss to host one of these up in Vancouver. And you see, as he's driving, sort of for a second, he seems like a little bit lost in thought, and he just says, "Can I ask just one more strange question?"
You're just a font of questions, but I feel generous. Go ahead.
He's like, "Hey, I like to listen, all right, and you are fascinating. In all the SUVs carrying all the unconscious hippies in all the world, you had to get into mine. If you had all this to do over again, if you could go back to the fire, talk to that young you, would you do it?"
Yeah, but I'd wait maybe 5, 10 years and live a little bit more. But I'd still go.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. You see, as he's driving, he has pulled off. He's going down a wide, twisty road that is getting increasingly more natural and trees and things all around. And you see a sign for Will Rogers State Park up ahead, which, like most state parks, closes at night. And he says, "Okay, so these guys can be a little squirrely, especially around people they don't know. So maybe stay in the car."
Will this take long?
Hopefully not.
All right, you get 15.
He holds out his phone and he shows it to you, and you see a club poster with Spin Turtle tonight at a club in Santa Monica. He's like, "Look, I told you, I got you."
It's not that. I just get bored sitting here alone. When I get
Well,
bored, it's mischievous.
he sort of opens the door. He's like, "In my line of work, boredom means nobody gets killed." And he hops out and he opens his side of the car where he had Tommy's head there, and he like slides him over and like throws him over his shoulder. He's like, "Be back in just a second." And you see he walks sort of ahead in the direction of like one of the outhouse public restrooms there at the Will Rogers State Park, like kind of near the parking lot.
Okay.
And he is gone for a minute. And give me your wits and awareness.
And that's how many dice?
For you, your wits and awareness is 7 dice, and still one of them is red.
Okay. It's a good thing I like to collect dice.
Mm-hmm.
And they are all successes. Only 110.
Only 110. Okay, so that's what, 7 successes?
Yes.
Off after a few seconds of he's gone, and you're sort of looking at your cell phone, making some notes for your next novel, you kind of hear pow, 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 and there's small flashes in the windows of the bathroom. Pow, 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 pow.
You know what that means?
Mm-hmm.
No, so that's what you call. Oh, you use lab out here. How cute.
When you see the gunshots going off in that direction, do you hop out of the car or do you wait?
No, I wait. I mean, unless I hear or see someone going toward the bathroom that's not with us, I know what the deal is. Tommy outlived his usefulness.
I would say after 7 successes, you see someone come running out of the bathroom and sort of like shooting backwards. And a second later, you see Millie pop his head out, and there's blood on the side of his face. And he's like shooting at the guy.
Well, in that case, we're getting out. It's time to rock.
Here, let me see something here.
Shooting my new friend. He likes my books.
You see the guy comes out of the bathroom, and I gave him a chance to see which way he would go, and he critically bossed, so he's running straight in the direction of this car, but looking back, shooting towards Millie, but coming your direction.
Can I use the advantage of my speed to use either irresistible voice, like use speed to get to him, and then use irresistible voice to kind of force my will upon him.
So what is it that you want him to do? Because you might use a different power based on what you want to happen here.
I would like him to drop his gun and cower.
You have a power called entrancement, which would allow you to do this. Right. You are able to get out of the car because, yes, you are fast with your celerity. And for your entrancement, so the way this works, you're going to do what is called a rouse check. So you're going to roll one of those red dice to see if using this power makes you get hungrier.
It does not. I rolled a 6.
All right. So, and then you are going to roll your charisma and your presence together, which for you, your charisma and presence is 6 dice.
And one of them has to be red?
And one of them has to be red, yep.
I will get the hang of this, hopefully before the 26th.
Nah, that's all right. It's not difficult, but like anything, it's new.
Oh, yeah, I critted.
Okay.
So that is a crit and then 2 more successes.
So a crit counts as 4, so that's 6 successes with a crit. Is one of those crits on the blood die?
It is not, unfortunately.
All right, so that is just a normal crit, but that is still good. He got less successes than that. So you tell me that is significant success, 6 with a crit. So what you want to happen works. You tell me like what you say to him.
So since he is coming straight toward me, I basically just collide with him, and I grab him by the collar. And I just use, for lack of a better way to phrase it, kind of that ASMR voice right in the ear. It's like, you know you don't want to do this, right? You're going to drop that gun, and you're going to get on the ground where you belong. You should not be shooting at us. You should not be shooting at anyone. Get on the ground and cower, and stay there like the dog you are.
You supernaturally fast out of the car and right into his face, and he like very much like puts the gun down and starts to like bend over, and you see Millie coming your way, and now you can see under his suit coat and shirt where there's several bullet marks. You can see he has a flak jacket on underneath. But there is blood on his face. Either he's hit or someone near him was hit. And he does seem like he's walking like fairly labored towards this guy with his gun out. Like, okay, and he like pulls the gun out like he's going to shoot him. And he's like, you mind?
No, do you want me to hold him still for you?
The guy is like very much, you see, he's like trembling as he's looking up at you, but kind of like averting his gaze, because entrancement allows you to be either supernaturally appealing or supernaturally frightening. So the idea of wronging you is even more frightening for him than Millie coming at him with the gun. And he just goes, It's fucking thin bloods. It's fucking thin bloods. I mean, he comes up and he actually shoots him in the back of the leg while he's down on the ground. Bang! And the guy's like, and like holds it and like starts to roll over slightly. And he's like, "You mind if I borrow your knife?"
And I just hand it to him hilt first with a smile, and I step on this dude to keep him still.
You see Millie actually like goes towards his neck with the point of the knife, and he just goes like, fuck, and pulls the slug out. And he's like, God, armor piercing jackets, you motherfucker. And he like bends down on him with the knife, and he's like, open your mouth, open your mouth, open your mouth. And he shoves the bullet into his mouth and holds his mouth closed. And he's like, yeah, you're gonna, and he says something to him in his ear that you can't quite make out, and just very slowly slides the knife in right between his ribs. And he goes, and his eyes sort of widen, and the guy just goes limp. And Millis just sort of like sits back for a second there in the parking lot. And he just goes, God, fuck, oh. Thanks, by the way, just for that. I don't know what happened. Like, I came in there, it's business as usual, and they decided they want to make a move.
Who's they?
There's two more of them in there.
Are you up to more fighting, or do you need help?
I mean, he like stands up kind of like unsteadily, and he's like, I got two of them. The other two managed to get in the hole up in there. I came chasing this guy because I didn't know if he was going for reinforcements or a rocket launcher or God knows what else. I mean, if you would like to go have a word with him, ladies first.
I just hold up my hand. Knife, please.
He whips it back around and hands it to you.
Question. So
yes.
He's hurt, and you mentioned earlier that if I lick the wound of someone I fed off of, it would close the wound. If I let Millie take a small drink, would that help him heal?
It could. Yep. It could. It's the blood is not innately healing, but pending what powers he's got, it could help him. Yep.
Since the other two that are in there haven't come out yet, I'm gonna offer my wrist and see what he does.
He just looks at you for a second, and he's like, I'd hope this was going to be under more enjoyable circumstances, but and he does lean in and he takes a small bite and drinks a little bit. And you do see when he takes his hand away, the hole is beginning to close. You actually can see it closing on him. Okay. But you have healed your fair share of wounds in your time. And, you know, most superficial injuries on a kindred close almost immediately. Whatever it is they're shooting is inflicting, like, major damage, that it doesn't go away completely.
We have to be careful, because that should have healed immediately.
He's like, yeah, it should have. It should have. Maybe I shouldn't have made him swallow that bullet, but I don't care.
Well, it doesn't make a difference now, does it?
He's like, okay, one of them had a shotgun, and he turns around and shows you his back, and you can see like the dents of buckshot all over his back. And it dented into the flak jacket. He's like, other two hand cannons. This guy, and he kicks the body that is laying there on the ground. In the two that are in there. Pretty sure Tommy got clipped. I don't know. I used him as a shield. I don't feel bad about that, honestly.
Can we take the weapons off this guy we just killed?
You can.
Or if Millie wants to take it, since it seems to be doing more damage.
He does look down at it, and you see the guy's got a Desert Eagle, a very large handgun. And he slides the clip out, and he looks at it, and he's like, shit, it doesn't look like any bullet I ever seen.
Mm.
He slides it back in. He's like, "You mind if I don't know, are you a gun
Nah, I
lady?"
prefer.
Oh, all right. And he looks, and again, it's one of those like, like at a park bathroom, those
Yeah.
like big brown things, doesn't really have a door that closes, kind of
Yeah.
that deal. And he's like, "How you want to do this?"
There's not going to be a lot of cover, and you've got the gun, but you've also been hurt. I'm going to go in through the roof.
He looks at you and he's like, "Okay, Spider Woman."
Nah, I can just jump.
He's like, "All right, I'll distract him, and I'll distract him, and you do your thing."
All right, I'm going to take advantage of the fact that I can leap.
All right. Soaring leap. I'm a fan of that one. You can jump quite far, actually, with someone that has the potence that you've got. Honestly, you could jump from here and land on the roof of the place if you wanted to. I mean, it's kind of that whole Neo in the Matrix. You have to jump across. Like, nobody makes the jump the first time. You could, actually.
All right. Could I jump and land with enough power to break through the roof?
Well, we will let the dice decide. You definitely can jump far enough to reach it, and then I will let you roll your strength plus your potence to see if that is enough to smash it.
Okay, how many dice is that?
For you, that is going to be 2, 5. Now, however, you can do something called rousing your blood, where if you would like, you call upon the supernatural power of your blood to increase your strength by 2 more dice. But in order to do that, you make a rouse check to see if you get hungrier.
Okay, well, let's do it. Let me. Rouse check is a 5.
So that is a fail.
Okay.
You still do it, you just get hungrier.
Okay.
Is you will the power into your muscles getting ready to do this, you hear the voice of the beast, the supernatural monster that lives in the heart of all kindred, sort of rise up and start whispering in your ear. Sienna, see, it always comes back to this, doesn't it? It's all books and poetry and cocktail parties and bullshit until you need me. And then I have to help solve your problems for you.
Yeah. I know. Rub it in. We'll have our reckoning eventually.
Looking forward to it, sweetie.
I bet
and you leap into the night and smash onto the roof of this building. And how many successes did you get there?
Hold on. I had not yet rolled.
Oh, so no, but yes, you get 2 additional dice. It's going to be 7 total.
Okay. All right, that is 1, 2.
This time you only need to roll 1 blood die, but now on subsequent rolls you will need 2 blood dice until you have a chance to feed.
Okay, that is 4 successes and 3 fails.
4 successes. You down through the roof because again, it was not meant for something like this. And right as you leap into the air, you see Millie turns with his gun and just sort of starts shooting out the windows. And you land, smash through. And you see up ahead of you 2 guys that are kind of down behind cover in one of the stalls. They're on 2 opposite sides. One of them has a shotgun and another one has the handgun. And they sort of like look back and forth between you in Millie as the windows are being shot out over their heads. But for the set moment, you would be able to act before them. You've got a shotgun guy and a pistol guy.
I'm going to go for the pistol guy because I'm not wearing a flak jacket.
Mm-hmm.
So,
what would you? Yes. Mm-hmm.
I was going to try. Can I do entrancement on both of them or no?
Entrancement is a single target, so you could get one of them, but not the other one.
All right, then I'm going to try entrancement to get him to shoot his friend.
All right, so here, well, first, this is kind of a multi-stage thing. So one, let's see if the entrancement even lands on the guy. So you are going to roll your charisma and presence.
6 dice.
I believe, let me double check.
And 2 of them have to be blood dice.
That is 6 dice, and now 2 of them are blood dice. See, look at that, you got it. You're a pro now.
I don't know about all that. But so is a 5 a fail or a pass?
A 5 is a fail, 1 to 5, and then 6 to 10 is a success.
Okay, then 5 of 6 is a success.
All right, but no, you didn't get 2 10s, right?
No, I got 3 8s, a 10, and a 6.
Excellent. So, is your goal to be supernaturally attractive or supernaturally frightening?
Oh, frightening. We're going to put the fear of whatever they believe in into them.
All right. So now that you have him, we're going to make a second roll to compel him to turn on his buddy, which will be your manipulation plus your intimidation plus your presence. I will tell you, if you want to try and be nice about it, you would have 2 more dice simply because you're better at persuasion than intimidation.
All right, well, let's do that. So that is a total of how many?
So that is 3, 6, 10 dice. This is a significant pool.
Okay, so 2, 4, 6, 8. Again, I repeat, it's a good thing I like dice.
Mm-hmm. It is just innately satisfying rolling a big old handful of dice like that.
1, 2, 3, 4. Ooh, this did not go as well as I'd hoped.
So now here's another thing that I have to insert for you, because again, even though I've been going rules light, this is significant. You have the option to spend one of your willpower and re-roll up to 3 of the black dice. So if you got 3 fails, you can re-roll those fails.
Okay. All right, let's do that, because I did only get 4 out of 10.
Okay.
Success. And that's so much better. They all succeeded, so now it is 7 of 10.
All right, and again, no 10s, right?
Only 1 10. I did not crit.
All right, no problem. So now that you're being supernaturally persuasive, having smashed through this roof and landed, and these guys are kind of looking at you, what do you say to him?
Hey, you know, we were just minding our business, and suddenly my buddy here is getting shot at. Why would you want to do that to us? You know, it'd be great, especially since I'm visiting. I don't want a problem while I'm here. It'd be great if you could take out that guy with the shotgun for us, and maybe we'll let you go about your merry way.
He looks at you, and you see his eyes sort of widen for a second, and he just goes, shit. And you see he reaches over and grabs the shotgun of the other guy and like points it down. He's like, no. Do you know who that is? Oh, man. Oh, okay. Hey, we're sorry, ma'am. Miss, your Primogen ship. Oh no, this is so fucked up. You see out of the corner of your eye, Millie is like peeking in with his weapon and kind of like creeping in now that they're both looking at you. And the guy with the shotgun is like, I don't care if she's the Virgin Mary. I'm not going to die in here tonight. And he goes, will you shut up? Or yes, you will. Shut up. And he actually does kind of point his gun at the guy, but he does not shoot him. So he's kind of got his shotgun pushed down with his pistol on the dude. And he's like, shut up. And he's looking at you and he goes, what do we need to do to walk out of here, ma'am?
Oh, I don't know. Well, why don't you ask my friend, the one you shot?
You see, right when you say that, a fist punches through the bathroom stall, and when it comes out, you see the barrel of Millie's gun kind of comes out and points against the side of the dude's head. And
The one
he's
with the
like,
shotgun or the one with the pistol?
the one with the shotgun. And he just says, Rory, why the fuck did you shoot me? And he goes, Millie, hey, we just thought, no, Higgins is distracted. He's got this party thing going on. Maybe this was a good time to make a move. You know, like Tommy had tipped us off that he had a big stash. You know, we want to figure we get you out of the way and maybe we could hit him. It wasn't my idea. Man. It wasn't my idea. And at this point, you do notice Tommy is laying on the ground, very dead. He took several bullets in the crossfire because Millie was right. He used him as a shield. And he's just like, look, man, I know this was crazy, but I just thought that and boom, Millie shoots the guy with the shotgun. Brain splatter.
Does it get on me?
No, it doesn't. And then the gun immediately points towards Rory, the guy talking. And he's like, wait. You let me go. I will take you to the lab. I will where the boss is. He told us to make this move on you. There's money. I know the combination of the safe. Please, man. Millie, please. I know. I'm sorry. I was just following orders. And Millie looks at you and he's like, what do you say? You want to go have a word with these people that called this hit out, or get your DJ and get back to your life?
My return ticket is open. We could make a stop. Because he almost got blood all over me. I like to stay pristine.
Well, it's your lucky night, Rory. Because if it was up to me, I was about to paint the walls with your brains. And that's actually a good place for us to pause our little vampire narrative of the Bruja Primogen, Sienna Fouche's silky smooth and uneventful trip to Los Angeles here. Exactly. We will have to return to see what happens to her next down here, right? But we did get some questions that we were gonna answer here. Well, we got some time. Okay, let me read this here. Thank you both for being awesome. Are there any referrals you can point to for TTRPG character or story writing, graphic novel, or web design work? I'm a freelancer with a BFA, so over co-vacation, I was looking to do some serious paid work in the tabletop gaming space. I can answer this one. Although, of course, if you have something that, well, you know what? I will let you answer if you like, and then I will tell you my answer.
It's hard because there's no one place to send you.
Yep.
A lot of times, just be on the lookout where people are either maybe they're doing Kickstarters, which is risky, but it's a low impact way to kind of get some writing out there and build your portfolio. If you're doing homebrews, be prepared to show that you can write, and just keep out open calls and maybe reach out to publishers and go, hey, I don't know if you've got any projects where you're seeking writers. I just want to be in touch so you can keep my name on hand. And then also just put yourself out there, create like a portfolio page on your site if you don't have one, and show like if you've either got homebrew, any kind of writing credits, and be able to go, here's what I can do for you. Because It's not like there's one publishing house we all go to. It's not like there's any one way to get into it. It's just, or constantly just maybe once a month on Twitter or whatever social you use, go, hey, looking for gigs. Anyone know if there's any Kickstarters coming up? Here's my genre where I feel where I'm strongest at. This is what I would love to try out something. Just be aware that freelance, a lot of times it's networking. So if you can go to cons, go to other stuff, and now that stuff is virtual this year, there's even better chance to to reach out to people and do stuff.
Yep. I would say the same thing. Network, and put your stuff out there. If you are an artist, be posting your art constantly. If you're a writer, write short stories, post them constantly. Do fan fiction. Fan fiction pays off, man. I've told y'all the comic book I did, Dungeons and Dragons: The Dark and Wish, started out as Dungeons and Dragons World of Warcraft fan fiction. So yeah, start creating in those spaces and build up a reputation for a creator in those spaces, and then meet people so that when they have a need, your name is what pops into their mind. That is in addition to everything Tanya said, of course. I'm plus oneing. I'm yes anding. Lore question. I will answer this one real quick. Which faction would be most likely to attend or be in charge of the Labyrinth of Jareth, LOJ Ball in downtown LA, Cam or Anarchs? What would your character wear to the party? The Labyrinth is absolutely Anarchs. The Camarilla just like lives that. So it's definitely an Anarch get together. In anything fly. Tanya, are you familiar with Labyrinth, the LOJ?
No.
Well, it's a whole thing that I'll tell you about later. It's dope though. It is dope.
Okay.
Question for us. Are you an advocate of decolonizing mechanics that may represent insensitive tropes, ideologies from RPGs, such as the very concept of race being problematic? Example, the concept of bioessentialism, where some races are inherently smarter or better. I'll let you take that one.
Yes. And actually, Gabe James Games on Twitter, has put out a module with this very thing baked into at least 5e for D&D, and absolutely, because racial traits are bullshit, because we're not all a monolith. And if I have to have another conversation about orcs, I'm going to scream. Or drow. I will scream so loud B-Dave will hear me across the country.
Yep. Yeah. I think any correlation between race and morality is problematic. I don't think the fact that you can have a player race in and of itself is bad, but the idea that these are the good ones, and mysteriously it is always the fair ones that are the good ones, and the dark ones are the bad ones, that's got to go. So any correlation between race and morality is problematic. Beyond that, I mean, if you want to play a gnome, play a gnome. And if you want to be orc, play an orc. But they can look and be like anything. Just be mindful of that. And anytime you're playing a given race and you're like, they're bad because that's what they are, like the orcs are villains because they're orcs, that is not just lazy storytelling. That is also diet racism in the form of colonialist tropes.
Yep.
Do you think it is important for game companies to find alternatives for these mechanical systems, such as alternative ability modifier locations? Actually, I feel like this is exactly what you just said. So this is kind of, I don't know if that was part 2 of that question or what, but the answer you just gave is still the answer to that.
Yep.
You both mentioned during the Stream of Annihilation panel that you were contacted as consultants for a streaming game regarding game companies that may not have in-house staff that review content. What would you suggest for game designers, developers, when they may have setting material that would have better representation regarding cultures or characters? Do you think companies are becoming more self-aware on this front?
Slowly, because I've done a lot of consulting, and I'm doing a lot of consulting in the near future. If you're and a lot of people go, well, I don't have the money, or they don't want to pay you because they don't see the value in this until their product comes out and everyone drags them for filth. If people are starting to see it, but they need to see it at the core, at the beginning of the project, not at the, oh, this is about to go to print and somebody found where we had a racist thing, or this is going to be some archaic term that no one but like these 25 people know is offensive because it's fallen out of common usage, but there's somebody that will find it.
Mm-hmm.
It's important. You need to pay consultants, but you also need to make sure that somebody is actually able and capable of looking at your document, your work, your art, and giving you critique and feedback that is useful to go back and fix the issues. Mm-hmm. Not supposed to just go, well, I'm black, so I can look at a black character. And that's not being shady. Mm-hmm. That is just because you're black or queer or what have you, everybody doesn't have the ability to go back and in a objective as possible manner go, on page 25 you had this character say this, you might want to tweak that, because I feel a lot of people look at diversity consultants as going in and wagging your finger and go, oh, you're terrible and racist. No, it's subjectively looking through a script, art, etc., and giving useful, constructive feedback, and also being paid for your time fairly.
Absolutely. I've experienced both. I've experienced companies hitting me up and they're like, we're about to go to print, but I'm not too sure about this. And I was like, good, because that's terrible. Change it. And here's why, all the reasons you should change it. And funny, because a lot of times, more than once, I've gotten the, yeah, but we're about to go to print. And I'm like, well, you knew something was wrong or you wouldn't have called me. And I have confirmed something is wrong. And here are the receipts. And I don't just mean subjectively, because you have to be careful, because some things are just not to everyone's taste. You know, some people are offended by things that don't bother me at all, but and vice versa. But when you can, like, here's the historical precedent for why this is problematic.
Yep.
You kind of got to listen to that. I've also had companies that were like, is this problematic? And I'm like, yes. And they're like, but we're going to do it anyway. And I'm like, you shouldn't. And they're like, well, but we're going to do it anyway. And I'm like, all right, as long as we both have in print that I told you that this is a thing you shouldn't do.
Yeah, and if you get into diversity consulting and they try to throw you under the bus, like, oh no, here's all the plate. I mean, as long as you're not breaking the NDA, but be like, oh no.
Of course.
I told you before you let this out in the world that these were all problems, and you basically wanted a rubber stamp of, this is good, you're not a racist, so you can say a black person told you it was okay. There's a difference. And as you do this work, you'll figure out which is which, what they want from you. But if they're bringing you in on day one, ground zero, you know that they are serious about doing it right.
Yeah. I will just say this too. Anytime and this does not mean that a white person cannot write a person of color. Like I said, Black Panther was T'Challa. All of Wakanda was created by two white guys. Which just shout out to Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, that in the midst of the time, if you really look at when they created the Black Panther and what was happening in the world, that they created not just a black superhero, but the best black superhero. He's the smartest. Wakanda's the best place. They didn't have to do that. So for all time, shout out to that. But and I write characters that are not like me. I've written female characters. I've written, white characters, Asian characters, vampires, werewolves. If you're writing someone whose experience is outside of yours, just at least check in with some of those people and just be like, hey, is this all right? Is this cool? This is a thing I wrote that I feel is cool, but is it all right? My characters in electropunk are all Serbian because Nikola Tesla was a Serbian, even though they grew up in New York. So I have like Serbian words, Serbian customs that I included in it because I wanted to make it authentic. I talked to some Serbian people, I'm like, does that say what I think it says? Because sometimes there's things that are slang or colloquialisms that might be offensive and you don't realize it. So just even in your art and in the things that you're creating, check in, because you take something like Star Trek Discovery, which I hated Star Trek Discovery. I watched season 1. I didn't watch anymore. The rest of some people were like, oh, it gets so much better later. And I'm like, I shouldn't have to give grade on a curve for a season. But the Klingons, their noses are a little too big and their lips are a little too full and their skin's a little too black. And then, every time they're talking, they're growling and have fucking open flame torches on the bridge of a ship that is capable of traveling faster than light. And it's like, spare me your noble savage bullshit. I find it unlikely. That any black people that felt like their voice would be heard were a part of that character design. I might be wrong, but that is how I feel. But I digress. That's neither here nor there. Miss Tanya DePass.
Yes.
Where might people find you if they want to follow your work and the things that you are creating, support any of your causes or anything of the like?
My handle everywhere is Cypher of Tyr, CYPHEROFTYR. You can find me starting next weekend. Rivals of Waterdeep is back for season 7. That is twitch.tv/DND, 10 a.m. Pacific. So the same time you're hanging out with us, you could be watching Rivals next week. And who knows what's going to happen, because Sharif loves puzzles, so we'll see what happens. And then at some point in July, I will be back to DMing Dragon Age on the Wandering DMs channel, and everyone has run through an Illuvian, and we'll see what happens, because Fenris is the Inquisitor, and shenanigans shall ensue. That is Thursday nights, so before Critical Role, go hang out with us. And everywhere online, Patreon /Cypher tier, and then I Need Diverse Games. Like I said, if you see us on Tiltify, please direct those funds elsewhere. We're doing good and we're okay. More people like bail funds need that way more than we do. Might I suggest Chicago Community Bail Fund or Bond Fund, because live in Chicago, got to help out the home team. And yeah, Instagram, Twitter. I don't not good with Instagram. I kind of forget I have it till I go somewhere, and since I haven't gone anywhere, I'm bad at it. And then on the 26th, I'll be hanging out with Dave, Matt Mercer, and a few other yet to be announced people to play more Vampire. And you get to see more Sienna.
You will get to see more Sienna. And tonight, you and I both are on session 0.
Yes, of Aegon.
Yep. Of Aegon, twitch.tv/Bard Barbarian. And if you're watching us live now, you might be watching us on YouTube, in which case you can watch the VODs of the things we're talking about. I'm going to go live in about 10 minutes on the Onyx Path Twitch for their playing It Came From Beneath the Sea with Matthew Dawkins. And then again, later tonight, session 0 for our new Grand Heroic campaign. So thank you, Tanya, for joining us. Thank you all for watching. I would say we'll see you next week, but I've completely forgotten who our next guest is. So it's going to be somebody. We'll be back.
It's D&D Live, so we'll all be busy.
Oh, you won't see us. You know what? I don't even remember if I booked one for D&D Live. Y'all, word. I don't know. So on Twitter, I will tell you. And we have a panel on Saturday. I'm doing a whole thing at D&D Live where I'm playing a Dragonborn. It's just, I think by now y'all know I just say yes to things. And then we're going to work it out. But in the meantime, thank you. And we will see you all next time.